I'm starting Navya's bookish odyssey with my January read from one of the KBRC members, which is Dear Dr. Meenakshi, who reads books the size that could hurt you if they fall on your head. And we've chosen a rather intense book for the beginning of the year. So I'm going to ask Meenakshi the first question as to why did you choose this book, and yeah, introduce the book for us.
Hello everyone, I'm Meenakshi. I suggested the book The Woman Destroyed. I don't know, something about the title appealed to me, and I am a fan of the author. And she had not read the author before, so I was like, okay, let me introduce a new author. And I feel like the subject matter might appeal to us. That's what I felt, and I think it did. Yeah, so
Success. Okay, so we'll get into the book. To give a small introduction about the book, it is Simone de Beauvoir's collection of three short stories, and the last one in the short story is the one that's actually titled "The Woman Destroyed." The first one is,
Age of Discretion,
the second one is
the monologue.
monologue, yes, and the third one is "The Woman Destroyed." All three of them are about women who have crossed their prime, are a little closer to middle age, and the crises they face are different yet connected because of the certain age gap that they fall under. Yeah. So, what would you say about the writing style of the book?
Um, if this is your first Simone de Beauvoir, I wouldn't suggest picking this one. I would say start with something else. Because after reading it, I realized it's not the best place to pick it up. I mean, to start with her. I didn't know that before I picked up, so that's why I suggested this one. But it's very intense, and the writing is really good. It gets under your skin, and sometimes that's not a good thing, but it's really good because it makes you think and feel, and but because it makes you feel, sometimes you feel pain, and you feel sad, and it just really affects you. So yeah, there are certain trigger warnings I would recommend everyone to go through before maybe going into some of the stories. Other than that, I think excellent writing. If you are someone who loves great, delicious, deep yet simple writing, I would suggest her works.
I think I like the book for the exact same reason, especially the last one, which is the most triggering short story, because it's written in a diary entry format, which is written very much like you're reading someone's diary. But at some point, it stops feeling like you're reading someone's diary and more like you're reading your own diary, and it's all happening to you. Uh, as I was initially, it was triggering, and at one point, I just couldn't stop marveling at the skill of the author to make you feel so much like it's happening to you. You actually feel like your husband cheated on you, and I don't even have a boyfriend to start with. So, I don't know how that feeling just comes in. It was beautifully written,
Yes,
and the
beautiful.
word and so many notes because every day's daily entry has at least one sentence that either is a sentence that I want to take forward to life and think about it in my personal life, or it's a sentence that's just written so beautifully that I won't like learn the sentence format of it for like if I ever write something. I mean, I don't think my diary entries would ever look
Yeah,
this well put together. And then she blames her own diary entries after a
yeah,
little while,
she
saying,
she
"Yeah,
does.
this is not well written, or this is not my mindset." So to start with the first book, we'll have a little discussion about the first book. I think the third book was so intense that I've sort of
Yes,
forgotten the
forgotten about the other
first
two.
book.
Yeah,
So for me, the first book was relatively the one that ends with more of a happier note. Uh,
definitely. I think compared to the rest of the stories, the most hopeful one.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also like the only one that has an actual end point.
Some
So
kind of
yeah.
resolution.
So how did that story feel to you, and what stood out the most to you?
I think the fact that really stood out to me is the fact that the woman, she's very self-aware. She's not perfect. She has the flaws. She goes. There's a lot of thoughts that she have that we know it's not right. We know, okay, it's easy to judge her from afar. It's easy to think, okay, maybe like all this is wrong. Like, okay, maybe don't do this. But it's also very easy to see where she's coming from, and even amidst moments of insanity, there's clear like this clarity and self-awareness that was like really appealing to me. And the fact that it ends in a rather hopeful note, that made me happy. I did not know what was coming,
Yeah,
so yeah, I'm happy the first one was yeah,
yeah.
kind of hopeful.
I think the first one pushes you to like, okay, you
Yeah.
can read the second
Yeah.
one. I think I started it a little more later than you did, and I was reading at a lot slower pace in the initial phase of reading it. So I sort of heard your reviews on it as I was reading it. So there was a bit of discussion as the read was going on, and for some of those reasons, my reading was like I was anticipating worse at one point, but at the same time, I was also looking forward to reading it. But I like the fact that it was very slow. Like I took it very slow,
Slow,
and
yeah.
it's nice to read like that because sometimes some books, if you don't read them fast, you sort of forget what just happened. This won't let you forget what is happening. It'll stay in your head as to what's happening. And with the first book, with the first story, one of the things that uh, I came to realize as the first and the second kept going on is they all, it's almost like an unfiltered book. Like if a character is introduced, you don't get what they want to tell, you get all their thoughts before as well. Like when that those intrusive thoughts that first pop up, which even in our mind are not the most pleasant thoughts.
Yeah.
It's you have to retrain yourself to then be kind to yourself or to what you're looking at. So you get that, the thing that you get before that, you get the rather hurtful
Unfiltered
version.
yeah.
You get those statements as well. And so the first story is about a couple who are again like very close to their retirement age, and it talks about dealing with the realization that you're getting old, where the lead female character uh, is not able to accept that getting old has to mean old. Like she looks at it as like aging like fine wine, while her husband looks at it as getting old, and now is the time to be picking up oldie vibes about it. നമ്മൾ തന്ത vibe എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്നത് slightly started hitting him at that point,
The
which
fact that she resents him for
Yeah.
that, it's very relatable.
at the same time, it's not like a lack of love.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
Nothing.
Yeah.
She still finds him very attractive. She just can't get how he thinks that he's getting
She
old.
resents him for not finding himself attractive,
exactly.
for letting himself
Yeah.
go, for being like, okay, I'm done. Like like all the rest of the years, it's like there's nothing that's gonna happen. The fact that she resents him for that, initially I was like, okay, maybe it won't be so harsh, but then it makes sense.
Yeah.
And the fact that she was a teacher and she was surrounded by youngsters, it kept her young, sort of. And when her husband decided, okay, you know what, I'm done with my life, I'm gonna age, I'm gonna get into that box now, like okay, I'm old now. And it's very difficult for you to feel young when your spouse decides to feel old, because it pulls you with the current, right? So that was like really nicely done.
And like she herself, she feels like she can still stay young, or as you get older, you still have the best works. So they're talking about two people who are contributing to the society as intellectuals. This is a book that anti-intellectualism will not like, because this is about uh, people contributing to the political society, to the intellectual society of the world that they live in. So for them, a lot of validation comes from how much they're contributing to that. And her husband is starting to feel like his best works are behind him. It's not just about a physical aging or or an emotional aging and their bond changing. It's about their place in society that comes with age. So that was a really nice, interesting take on how she initially does not think anything like her husband. Then all that belief is broken, and then she starts thinking like, okay, maybe like him, yeah, I may be aging and I will not write the right books. But then again, her husband himself is the one
Yeah.
who comes and changes that concept again for her, and it's all very subtle. It's not like
And very
wo-
realistic.
yeah,
Like
world
sometimes,
is not ending here.
yeah. And when sometimes you have all these core beliefs, and when those are broken, you tend to go to the extreme,
Other
other
extreme,
end,
yeah.
right? And then you have to come back to the midpoint and be like, okay, this is how it is. Like that journey was very realistic. Like I really like the way it was portrayed. Yeah.
So one major thing that stood out for me with Simone de Beauvoir's writing, and this is my first book that I'm reading of hers. I've only read of her, when you read about feminist classics, especially the second sex. But I didn't know this thing where I do read quite a bit of classics. And like recently, I've been reading a few rather simpler, easier books for readers to read. So, and those writings are a bit, spoon feeding kind of writings. One thing that really, really stood out to me in this book is the fact that you will not understand who is who to whom in this. It's like those games that we play, like my father, son,
Yes,
sisters, and who
yes.
was that to you. It's like that. They will never, they will just drop names, but will never explain if this is the father or the son or the brother or the first husband or the second husband. And as the story goes on, you kind of have to decipher this code of uh, who is who to whom.
Related to whom, yeah.
Yeah, in all three of the short stories, it's just a writing style where she expects the reader to put in their
Yeah,
mind
work,
into it.
yeah, yeah.
So, how was that reading experience? Because I loved it.
Personally, I'm a big fan of such, you have to work for it kind of writing. If you're a person who is not interested in that, you might not enjoy these books because she never says, okay, this is my, like, there's a story where the character has two husbands and it takes a while for you to figure it out because you're like, okay, this one, okay, this is the husband. Then there's another guy and he's also the husband. And you're like, okay, what is happening? And I I think there are two ways you can do this. There's this way where you can be super pretentious and do this, and it'll come across
It's
in
not
a
the,
not the best way. And then you can write like this where you have to work for it, but there's something at the end of it, and you feel like, oh, it's worth it. I've put in the work, and everything that opens up to me, or like everything is revealed that now. Yeah, I'm glad I waited and read along. So yeah, I think she did it well.
yeah, yeah.
Not everyone, but
like, yeah.
Simone de Beauvoir, yeah, definitely.
It isn't like a detective thing in itself, and that you have to have great intellectualism, but you have to sort of let go of why are they not telling me in the very beginning, why are they not making it easy for me, because those little doubts that you have, because in the first story she talks about getting this so excited about meeting this other guy, and I kept thinking, my lord, is she going to have an affair now? And then I realized she's excited to meet her son that she
Yeah.
hasn't met for so long. But at no point do they tell that this is the son.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, the name will be mentioned, but
Yeah.
it's not like my son David.
Yeah.
No, it's David. I want to
Yeah.
meet David.
I'm meeting David tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm excited to meet. What is he up to? He reads my works. ഇതൊക്കെ പറയും, but they'll never tell you that that's the son. It's from their interaction that you slowly figure out she has been like a maternal figure for him. Initially, you think maybe she's a mentor to this guy because you're also talking to other. They talk about other people who are her students and co-workers and all that.
Ladies.
And then you slowly get this is the son, and then how is the equation between her and the son? And it's not very straightforward relationships. Also, it's relationships that expect something of each other.
Yes.
With married couples relationship, from affairs there's more expectation. There's a certain moral expectation from
Yes,
everybody.
yes.
There are a lot of trigger points though. So what were the trigger points that sort of stood out to you?
The fact that she has a lot of the protagonist. She has a lot of internalized misogyny, and it comes up at times. And there's at one point she says, okay, and a old woman's body is much more disgusting than an old man's. And when you read stuff like that, you understand where she's coming from because the society was such. Because this book is definitely old. It's not a new book. So yeah, the women who are portrayed, so most women back in the day, they really believed this. They thought, okay, aging is bad, but when you're a woman and you're aging, that's super bad. That's extra bad. So that kind of thing, and the fact that she has this kind of like this internalized misogyny, this kind of rivalry also comes between her and her son's fiance. So there's this, oh, like she's stealing my son from me kind of thing, and you're like, oh, this is something we see very commonly in India, where we have this son and mother having this kind of semi-incestuous kind of
Yeah, yeah.
relationship, and there's always this daughter-in-law or the girlfriend portrayed in a very negative light. So this woman does it too, and but she is self-aware. There are points where she's like, okay, maybe I'm overdoing it, maybe I shouldn't be doing it, but yeah, I think that was done well. And for a book that is not about Asian culture
Yeah.
or Asian stories, there are a lot of things I could
Relatable.
relate with. The family dynamics I could relate to it a lot. Yeah.
And the concept of the other woman, that is either the daughter-in-law other woman, as in the first short story, or in the last story where it's literally the other woman in a married couple's life. there is a certain uh, not disrespect, that wouldn't be the right word, a sort of, yeah, kind of disrespect, I guess, lesser respect for women who are more superficial or more ambitious, where they want to go ahead in life no matter what, where it's not their political inclinations or their moral inclinations that matter, if they're just looking at, like, succeeding in career some way or the other, or just money, if money is more important than research. This is a more of an intellect is more respected sort of a word. So this other woman thing, the whole way that she's dealt with the other woman, do you think she's taken a take where it is a blame that's put on the other woman
Woman
or put on
greater,
the man
yeah, yeah.
involved in it,
I think she has this
or is it
typical.
on herself, like the protagonist
Yeah,
herself?
I think there's this culture, right, where if your partner cheats on you, your male partner cheats on you, there's this, first of all, there's this phase of denial where it's like, okay, well, this is not happening, and if it is happening, it's because of her, because the other woman must have done something to him, otherwise he wouldn't do this to me. And then there's this, like, you tend to hate that stranger more than the man who promised to not do this, right, who
Yeah.
was beside you, who's supposed to be by your side. So that kind of thing is very, it's a very typical reaction, because when something like this happens to you, you know this is not right, you know you have to blame the husband, but your immediate reaction is to blame
Blame
the
the other
stranger.
person.
Yeah. And then there's also this, oh, like, maybe I did something wrong. And I think her friends and the people around, they didn't help either, because they were kept saying, okay, a man of her age being faithful and like not having an affair, that's quite normal. I mean, that's not normal. Obviously he has an affair. So that kind of talk also put her in a place where she's like, okay, it's all because of her, or maybe because of my shortcomings. Like, that is the first thing. And there's a point in the story where she says, I really hope he's a good man, because if he's not, who am I?
Yeah.
I'm the idiot who, like, hitched my wagon to this person who's supposed to be my love, but he's a jerk. I
Yeah.
mean, that makes me kind of stupid. So she's at a place where she's like, she's not sure whether she wants her husband to be the bad guy, or whether she wants it to be like, oh, he's not a bad guy, but maybe there was something wrong with her. Like, she's not sure which narrative to choose. That was kind of, I found that very
Yeah.
compelling.
For context, we were talking about the third short
Yeah.
story, where it is about a couple, in which the woman was a medical dropout in the first or
Yeah.
second year, and her husband was a doctor who moved on from dealing with patients to more into a research sort of background. So until the time that he was taking care of patients, she was equally involved in his career, and then when it went into research, it didn't really make sense, because she preferred the more human connection side of that job. And she's dedicated her entire life to the family, to the kids, to her husband. And suddenly one day her husband lets her know that he's having an affair with another woman. And that is the short story that's titled The Woman Destroyed. And you slowly see it unraveling, how she first accepts it, that yeah, all married couples go through a phase like this after all these years of marriage. They've been married for about 20 years,
Yeah.
close to that. And how she slowly starts blaming everything else, like, oh, this is the nature of man, or maybe this is the nature of the woman that's trying to get in the middle of them. Then slowly it unravels into her blaming herself, and then it spreads into other aspects of her life, about the way she's parented her kids, and could she be blamed for that. And uh, the husband is so not a great person, but then you don't see any of the other characters than through the protagonist's eyes.
Yes.
So you can't, because even as the diaries are going on, she herself contradicts
Yeah,
herself, like,
she calls out on her own bullshit. She's like,
bullshitting.
I know I'm an unreliable narrator. When I was saying this in the diary, I
I
actually
meant
meant,
something
yeah.
else, yeah.
So that was like all these women, all the three women in these stories, they're very self-aware, but they're also in denial. So it's like, it's once you read it, it's very engaging, because you're not really sure how the woman is feeling at the moment. So either you can get glimpses of self-awareness, and suddenly she's like, no, you know what? No, this is not how it is. This is the narrative that I want to go with. So that kind of choice is also, like, sometimes even when you know the truth, the society, the patterns that you are used to, like, you have you think about yourself a certain way. For example, the woman in the third story, she hitched her own identity to her roles as like roles of mother, wife, and suddenly when your husband leaves you, and when your kids like maybe act like you did not do a good job parenting them, no, it put her in a place where she's like, okay, what is the meaning of my life? I've failed in all those roles where I thought I was doing well. So and the fact that she kept telling herself, I've given up my career for this thing, and if this amounts to nothing and I have nothing else to show, am I amounting to nothing? So that was, yeah, well done.
The book also, I felt, talks a little bit uh, about how much there's accessibility to drugs, as in tranquilizers and stimulants, that are sort of freely accessible around that time. For context, Simone de Beauvoir was born in 1908 and she passed away in her 70s. So, in that sort of a period, like everything is, I mean, she takes sleeping pills when stress is not giving her sleep. She takes stimulants when she's not able to stay fully alert, and then she takes tranquilizers when she's getting hyper tensed about, um, the situation she's having to deal with. Eventually, at one point, they talk about her bleeding, and I don't think it's just menstruation, because it's like it doesn't stop after 3 weeks and all that. And since you're a doctor here,
Oh,
what do you think is happening to her? Do you think it's the medicines inducing, or is it the stress inducing, or is she in trouble with her health?
I think it was due to her, like, stress and everything else that culminated in that. I don't think it has a. It's more psychological, which led to a physical condition than it actually being some underlying, or like, yeah, problem or disease. That's what I felt like. It was like everything is crumbling and falling
Falling
apart.
apart.
So is her body
Body,
right now.
yeah.
Her mind is like, I think the title "The Woman Destroyed" is very apt because you can actually see her being like her sense of identity, her like everything she built around her, the structure, the family structure, and her oh my god. And this is I just remember the fact that she was talking to her husband and she talks to him. Okay, I've been thinking about this. I'm really sorry. Maybe I had these shortcomings and she was having this conversation with the husband, and the husband said, okay, can you stop talking about the past? And she says, what else do I have? That was very compelling because this is a woman who sees no future. So like, and she feels like the past is coming undone, and there's a particular phrase she uses, my past is shifting shadows, shifting darkness. So it's all dark, there's no light, there's no hope, but it's not stable either. The past is being changed. She thought her husband was in love with her, then she finds out he fell out of love with her like 10 years ago, and they have been living a lie. So when you live a lie, it puts you in a place where, okay, I thought this is what happened, but now that is a lie, and like everything I've left behind is a lie. So what do I have? Like, that kind of thing is really nice. I can see her falling apart in
Crumbling, yeah.
every aspect. So yeah, I think the bleeding is a manifestation of,
Of that as
yeah.
well. Of these two stories, they follow a certain woman's a lot of inner monologues and what's going on in their mind. But the middle short story, which is called the monologue, is a stream of conscious writing, which to me is the first time that I'm reading. Whenever I've studied stream of conscious for literature, I've sort of avoided the reference reading portion of it, because I found the other stuff more interesting. Not that I intended on avoiding it, but now that I've read it, I kind of don't think it's my cup of
No,
tea.
it's definitely not my cup of tea what she has done with this. And I've read a review saying, I just read a review because I was really confused after the story. I was like, I wonder why she chose this writing style. And in the review, it was mentioned that she wanted to explore. And the person who wrote the review, I think he was an expert on this kind of a narrative style, and he said it was not that the best, not the best. And I kind of felt that too because it was very intense, but it was, and I don't know, I felt really uncomfortable reading it. And I think that I don't think that's my least favorite story. I'm not really sure, but yeah, it made me feel very uncomfortable, and it felt kind of not as refined as the rest of the
Yeah.
stories. Yeah.
uh, but even in that, I sort of felt like the book goes for long stretches where you feel, I mean, it's all short stories, but still you feel for a long stretch like it's a very simple, pointless someone ranting, and suddenly they'll drop a bomb.
This bombs being dropped.
Dropped, zero things to predict where it's going. For example, in the second story, she's just ranting about her family never being supportive to her, and then she talks about, she would have been a better mom, she could have been this, she could have been that. She talks a lot about like possibilities that could have been better, that just didn't work for her. And then suddenly they drop the bomb that she's lost her daughter. So there's no trigger warning for it, but there are a lot of like suicide and um, you know grief. So many, because in the third story again she talks about losing her dad and the grief she's still not recovered from. It's been 3-4 years. And the first one that we've had a discussion before, and something that really stood out and Meenakshi told, is when the mother-in-law tells, calls her the daughter. So, like, yeah, can we just like repeat how that went on?
My darling child was
My
it?
darling child, yeah.
So the mother-in-law in the first story, she calls this person. The protagonist is in her 60s. So the mother-in-law is in her 80s, and she says she calls the protagonist my darling child, and the protagonist admits that after the mother-in-law passes away somewhere in the future, there's no one who's going to call her my darling child again. And that kind of affected me, and I realized that as long as you have someone who's older than you, or who's like more mature than you, who actually considers you a child and calls you a child, my darling child, or your pet name, you'll always be a child. It doesn't matter what age you are. You will be like a child. She's 60, she's still a child because there's a mother-in-law. But after she passes away somewhere in the future, she'll cease to be a child. That kind of affected me. I think that was well done. I I remember reading it and like closing the book and being like, oh, that was wonderful. There are so many quotes in this book that makes you feel like, oh, okay, this is good. I need to remember this. I need to, yeah, like for example, you can see a book.
There are enough tabs here.
Yeah.
I have the 150 tab cassette,
Yes.
which is almost finished. Because like every diary entry has good lines, man. It's so good. It's wonderfully written. So, do you have any final questions for me? And
How did you
about your
find
reading?
your reading
January
experience? Yeah, January reading experience.
It was a little intense for a New Year's read.
It was. I made it to be so intense. It was unintentional, guys.
We had this discussion of like what to pick and what to work, and she, like, we were looking at other books and she's like, no, you don't want to start the year with that, like it's not like for that.
Yeah.
But then as I was reading this, I was like, do I want to start my year in this level of destruction and depleting human emotions? But uh the fact of the matter is the book is wonderful. Like it is a genre, a literary style, everything that I've not explored. The whole point of me trying something new has completely worked out, because I also do believe that short stories are the easiest form to get into new genres. So that really helped that it's a collection of stories, and because there are similarities between each, it didn't feel like I'm trying three different things at the same time. So it really helped me and my purpose is served.
Yay.
And I I mean, this is maybe not her best work because you
Yeah,
say so, because
yeah.
I don't know,
It's very intense.
but I really liked her work, and considering these are translated from the French, I cannot even imagine how wonderful the original work is. And I don't know who the translator may. I will check out and put it in the caption or somewhere who the translator is. But the translation is also really good.
So good.
The words just flow. They do not feel like a translation at all. So I genuinely enjoyed. Like it was, I was dreading it and enjoying it at the same time, like as it went on. Uh, but it is definitely a great piece of literature. A little difficult, not because the language is difficult, because the emotions are difficult, and it expects you to be a little bit of grown up to read it. So maybe not a beginner friendly read, but it is something you want to keep in your library as like a great book to recommend for great literary aspect of it. The prose is beautiful. So I really enjoyed it. I mean, she's a fabulous writer, like god blessed fabulous writer. It's not just experience, it comes from that want to tell certain kind of stories and voice. I've never read about a middle-aged woman and her struggle, so reading three of those um, didn't feel so difficult to understand that age either. So I loved the recommendation. I'm very happy with my January
Happy
read.
she loved the recommendation.
Yeah. So I guess that's about
I
it.
recommend the book if you are in the
Yes.
if you feel like this is something up
You
your alley,
can
like,
check it out.
yeah.
Yeah, it is Simone de Beauvoir's The Woman Destroyed. Please do check it out.